Folks, welcome into Bullet Points yet again. I'm your host, Ty B. We got Kevin Masari and Mike Bunt joining us here tonight. And UB with a big win over North Texas in men's basketball, coming back with a big surge at the end of the game to get the 69-66 victory. And we have the men's football, it's just football, tomorrow night against Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois has a chance to clinch the MAC West in that one, so that'll be something to look out for. But let's get it started here. 2 games into the basketball season, Kev. Where's your head at? How are you feeling about this team?
Man, I mean, they've played 7 minutes of good basketball against Michigan, roughly. They played about 8 minutes of good basketball yesterday, give or take. Well, we'll average it up and say about 20 out of 80 minutes of good basketball so far this season. We'll just say that. That's easy to say. So 1/2 of good basketball out of 4 halves. It is what it is. North Texas is a good opponent in terms of what they've been able to build in the Conference USA. They've built something good. Is their team kind of on the downfall like UB was a couple years ago? I would probably say that that's accurate. So I think right now, based on rankings, computer statistics, North Texas is right about the average run-of-the-mill MAC school, right with Akron. Anybody else? We'll see how that works out. Still always good to take a road win. However, their computer rankings didn't move with a victory. So that tells you that, although by betting standards, they were the underdogs by a point or two, statistical models don't agree. So, they got out of it. They have some primetime players, and Balla played super well yesterday. Sugu in stretches played well. Jonathan was cold all game, and they were still able to overcome it. So that's good to see. And, they got a little bit out of Skogman off the bench. And then lastly, Maceo Jack has a rebound game, literally left 3 points on the board by having a toe on the line 3 times. That's got to be a UB record. 3 times they lost a 3-point shot. I mean, stepping back, and those are big 3 points in a game like this. So does have a huge turnover at the end, not really sure. And then the entire team doesn't defend except basically fouling the 3-point shooters. All the calls that they went against UB yesterday, they got out of that one, which they shouldn't have gotten a call there, but they were getting the call all game. Could have had a 3-point shot there. Then the guy was wide open and they were draining threes. The UB got lucky to get out of that the way that ended with 3 timeouts, Mike. But, you take it and run. Early season W, that's what you needed. You need to keep it roaring into a pretty important campus game in the Cancun Invitational, and then, probably a matchup against a couple of good teams in Stephen F. Austin, and then hopefully St. Louis. So there's a couple of good out-of-conference games here.
Yeah, it's always better to talk about a close win than a close loss. I think if they had lost that game yesterday, we would be not in panic mode, but we would definitely have even more concerns than what we have at the moment. I think what we're seeing early in the season is a little bit of rust, but also a little bit of maybe we overhyped a few things about the roster. Me specifically in my preseason preview, the few things I was talking about with Coach a week ago was that the depth was supposed to be better on this team. They were supposed to have better shooting overall, and the ball movement was supposed to be better. And I think in those 3 areas, we're really not seeing a noticeable improvement at this point. There's still a lot of time for that to change. So all the people that were killing me on Twitter last night realize it can get better, but they're going to have to work on that. Right now, there is no backup point guard to Rondo Sugu, and that's concerning if he's going to end up playing 35 minutes a night. You need someone to get him some breathers once in a while. It seems like Jonathan has to carry the offense or they're in trouble. And yesterday, North Texas tried to shut him down. And for 32 minutes, the Bulls offense really couldn't get anything generated. I like that Maceo Jack apparently has a good shot, has to have a little bit more awareness around the line, like Kevin said. And Balla, he's just going to dominate most mid-majors he goes up against. And like I said, Rondo Sugu, good player, great finisher yesterday, but a lot of turnovers. Was pretty sloppy with the ball. Had 5 turnovers, only 4 assists. You don't like to see that, but overall, like I've said, this is a North Texas team that had a lot of success last year, but they lost about 50-60% of their scoring. This was not the same team that went to the NCAA tournament and won a game. So you want to be encouraged that the Bulls have shown fight in both their first 2 games, but if they play like this, in MAC play, or if they even play like this against Western Kentucky, possibly St. Louis, St. Bonaventure, or even some of the other teams in their non-conference schedule, they're not going to be a 23-24 win team. They'll be a 19-20 win team. So they got some stuff to clean up on, but definitely glad that it's a win and they can learn from it while watching tape the next few days and practicing.
Yeah, and I know one thing Kev brought up yesterday in our group chat after the game was an interesting stretch at the end of the first half into the second half there. Once the Bulls reached 28 points, there was about 5:40 left in the first half. It took them 17 minutes and 13 seconds to score their next 20 points. It was just absolutely abysmal. And then after that, that's when they got hot at the very end of the game, and that's what ultimately, was the run that won them the game. But they just could not get things done, and a big problem was the turnovers for a while there, Mike, that you brought up. And Segu did really hurt them, but he came through in the stretch when you needed a guy to step up, which was really, really big. He did have their last 5 points, and I think it was like 9 of their last 13, something like that. So good to see him step up in crunch time, Kev. But like you said, they're going to need to get more behind him at the point guard position. He had some energy at the end of the game, in game number 2 in the season. But are you going to have that, in February, in the beginning of March, at the end of MAC play when you need it most? I think you're going to have to find someone else to eat up some minutes there at point guard. Curtis Jones only got 3 minutes yesterday, so they got to figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, and they got to figure something out in a hurry, because not only against in the MAC against pretty physical and daunting opponents that we tend to overlook, they have a future here, right? So you have to consider, Segu could have a COVID year. I don't know who's going to utilize that, whether it's Williams, Mbala, or Segu. It's almost like they're preparing for them to use it. Like they think that some of these guys will be back. Like that's kind of how I've approached recruiting. Like I kind of see, I kind of think they think that. Now, will it happen? I don't know. We'll see. But to this year, they need guard play. They have 2 of them, like Maceo Jack being one. What's behind that? And Maceo Jack, by all intents and purposes, they were calling him a wing yesterday. And I actually thought the UNT announcers were pretty good. I generally dog the announcers of the MAC teams, but they were pretty good. They were pretty complimentary of UB and the style of play, and basically saying UB's not going to shoot this poorly every night, like this and that. Like Jonathan Williams isn't going to go for, basically had 6 points deep into the game. So I did like that. I did like hearing another perspective on that, but they need guard play straight up, because not only in the next 4 months is that important. What's going to happen in April when you're looking at the roster and you literally have Hardnett and Skogman? That's it. That's it.
Too.
That's it.
They got crushed on the 3-point ball.
Crushed.
Absolutely. McBride and Perry, I think they were 7 of 13. They're 2 guards. Perry coming off the bench. They're just lighting it up, especially at the end of that first half there on that run where they took the lead.
The 3-point defense has been horrible.
The same thing against Michigan too, and I know you sort of against Michigan, I'll let you cheat a little bit, covering Dickinson and whatnot, but the opportunities they're giving a lot of times were them running off for no reason. So I don't know. We'll see how that changes, but you're going to need someone else to step up, because you've always had, your ball dominant point guard who can play defense, but you've always had a dominant, number 2 guard who can also lock down on defense over the past 5, 6, 7 years or so here at UB. And that's really helped, even if it wasn't a big scoring guard, it was someone who could lock down. Javon could still do that at times last year. So I don't know if the answer is.
And guys, where's Ty Perry? Where's Ty Perry?
We need to figure out what's going on with that situation. Is he eligible? I mean, we haven't heard anything. So
he was dressing on the court yesterday.
Yeah.
If he's not playing because he's just not breaking the rotation, then that's an issue. I mean, we've had this problem with a lot of White Sox transfers, though. How many guys have come to UB highly touted that have just not made the impact that you thought they would?
Nickelberry, Gabe Grant, and Nickelberry from Memphis, Gabe Grant from Houston.
Even LaQuil Hardnett.
To an extent, yeah.
Much higher expectations. You had Antoine Johnson, much higher expectations. Outside of Josh Mbala, so far, Weitzel's tenure has been full of bringing in guys with a lot of potential who, for whatever reason, haven't met that potential. Now, is that a coaching thing, or is that players that might have been overhyped before they came to UB? It could be either or. But the one other issue you have with Segu playing 35, 36 minutes a game is you just worry about him getting worn down. How are you going to play that type of defense where you're up in someone's face when honestly you have tired legs and you really have
the answer is, Mike? They don't play defense sometimes. They don't kick out on threes.
And I think that's a concern for this team because I think we'd all say that when UB's playing their best basketball that they're going to be shut down defense and try to get some transition. At least that's what they were doing in Nate Oates' years, and they've tried to do it with some success the last 2 years. But defensively, they've not been the same unit the last couple of years, and that's a big reason. They don't get easy baskets anymore, and they don't make anything really easy on themselves. You can tell that they have some of the best athletes in the conference that can do some extraordinary things, but there's no consistency to this team. So one moment you might watch them and you're going to say, "Oh my God, they can easily win this conference, and maybe they can even win a game in the NCAA tournament." And the next second they'll play a school like Army, and you're like, "Oh my, how are we losing to them?"
Well, they lose Army every year now, and
yeah,
and I think some alarming things, Mike.
I think that's what fans need to realize when we make our predictions in the beginning of the year. We're going to be a little bit on the optimistic side. We haven't seen them since March. We're going to hope for the best a little bit. But when you see a game like yesterday, while happy that they won, you see some of the signs that, well, maybe it isn't all there yet. Maybe they need some time, but they'll need to figure it out because, like you said earlier, Kev, the MAC is not going to be a cakewalk, and this league has some better teams than what we thought going in. It's much more than just UB and Ohio. It's UB, Ohio, Akron, Kent, Miami, Toledo.
Miami's the big one. Third best team in the MAC. We called them the fourth on our pregame show, Mike.
Yeah,
it might be the third.
Top 25. I don't know how much credence we give it, but UB 11, Ohio 15, Toledo 17, Miami, Ohio 27. That's 4 teams ranked within 16 spots of each other. That tells me it's going to be a dogfight.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what the MAC has been for so long, but it's nice to see that they're more kind of top level mid-major talents this year, at least, from what's happened early on in the season, some wins over some bigger conference teams, which is always going to get you some good, power points, no matter what, even if they're bad teams in Power 5, it's still a nice win. But the problem for me still, it's just going to root back to this bench issue. You have LaQuill Hardnick, Keyshawn Bruton, and Curtis Jones come off the bench combined for 30 minutes, 0 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 fouls. Yeah, that's not very good. The only points they got off the bench were from Skogman, who actually played more minutes than Brock Bertram anyways. So, I would probably pencil Skogman in as the starter going forward. He at least should be, unless they think they're, trying to make him into, Nick Perkins off the bench or something and find a spark with a big man like that. I don't know. Well, I think, at this point, Weitzel's probably trying to figure out anything to get a spark offensively because we've seen they still do not know how to play a real half-court style, setting up an offense and trying to roll through things. That's not the way they're going to be able to play it, and I don't think you're going to be able to install that at any point and have them pick that up throughout the season. So you have to figure out some bench minutes to be able to turn up your defensive intensity and increase your efficiency defensively to create those easier looks in transition. That's your only shot, I think, of improving where you are now. Right now, you're going to be in an absolute slobber knocker in the MAC. If you finish top 4, you'd be very happy with, the way that they've played the first 2 games. They should, if they pick up that intensity, they should be a team that finishes top 2, top 3, no matter what. But we have to see that.
How do they win this conference without better half-court play?
It's not happening unless they figure it out transitionally and start hitting shots.
And also, at this point, I hate saying it because you want to see the best for him. He's been at UB forever now. But having Brock Bertram start is just a liability for the team. He just seems out of place. He has the height. He tries. He puts a lot of effort. Great character guy. but he's too slow. And with a team full of athletes, he just sticks out. I think that's one area UB needs to get better at. They need a more athletic big. They can't afford to have players that are gonna slow them down. And I feel like when Brock is in the game, they just don't execute at the level they need to.
Yeah, and I mean, some alarming things here, guys. Like, I know it's 2 games. One was against one of the best teams in the nation, and one was against, a defensive UNT. But 205th right now in points per game in the country, 260th in rebounds per game at 35. Don't know why the rebound numbers were so low yesterday, but they were 281st in the country in assists at 11 and 280th in the country at 77 points allowed. I mean, it's bad. Like the raw data is bad. Now, should that even out when you play a rider? You better hope so. Now, we were joking about it against the D3 Madai, but they had an 8-minute stretch to start that game. That was awful. Like, it was absolutely awful. They ended up crushing them. No issues. But I'm more looking at it in stretches. I'm not getting anything out of the final 8 minutes against Madai. I am getting something out when the starters are in and it's not moving. I'm watching that game in stretches, just like you're watching a lot of games, and they struggled. You're going to get those 8-minute stretches against Ohio. You're going to get that 8-minute stretch against Kent State. You're going to get that 8-minute stretch against St. Louis in a couple of days. That's going to come. Can they overcome it shooting 10 for 10 down the stretch like they did yesterday? You cannot bank on that. You cannot bank on Jonathan Williams and Mbala hitting threes and Maceo Jack having a good stretch and not missing, toe on the line or not. Like, they're not going to be able to 10 out of 10 their way out of games against Kent State, period. Yeah. They were bailed out yesterday, but that was not a good basketball game. I think by all accounts, I think all of us were almost to a point after an 11-point being down 11 with like 6 or 7 left. We had that written off. Like, we were like, this is getting bad. But I just can't get over the team doesn't have a bench. Like, we saw their roster. We knew Mbala would be good. We knew Jonathan Williams would be good. We knew Ronaldo Segu would be good. We thought we'd get some out of Jack, and we have, for the most part, one awful game, and he rebounded. And then a little bit out of Skogman. But, like, guys, there is no bench here. They're graduating 7 people. They filled with 1 spot. If they can't win this year, this is the year you sold to the upper leadership of UB, it ain't getting better next year. This is the second best class in UB history behind the Perkins and CJ class and Harris. You're going to lose the second best class, the 7 of them, mainly the top 3 or 4. You're going to lose them and then think that you're going to win next year. We have no proof that they can recruit at the JUCO level. That's been awful for them. We have no proof that they can recruit at the freshman level. Savion Gallion, Chance Robinson, that's been awful for them. We have that they can get transfers in beside Mbala. It's been awful for them. We went over that, Mike. There's reasons to worry if they cannot increase. Why they need to get it done this year isn't because Kevin wants them to win a tournament game. Great. But Kevin wants them to recruit. Kevin wants to be able to say, this is what the senior class was able to do, just like they did under CJ. It's been class number 2 that's been able to accomplish this. You guys can come and be the next class to make it to the NCAA tournament, go to Cancun, have all this fun, go to Ellicottville, do all these fun things, and still win basketball games and not choke in the MAC tournament against Miami of Ohio, and then not show up against Ohio. So this is my rant to say, I need recruits. And how do you do it? You're seeing it on the football side, which we'll get to in a moment, but you need to win basketball games. And you need to win important basketball games. And guess what happens? It's easier to recruit. Kevin and Ty can go out to Texas and start recruiting to UB. When you don't win basketball games, it's really hard. So that's what I'm trying to say here, Mike, is you're leaving this with, if you don't come out with a really good result that you can really recruit to, you're leaving behind Skogman, Ty Perry, who's not even playing, Hardnett, and Contrell Blocker, and Khalil Meding and Kawel Meding.
Yeah, there'll definitely be growing pains after this year, one way or another. And
that's not even a star in there. There's not even a star in there.
Yeah, you hit the nail on it, Kev. Quietly, me and Kev have actually been talking about this for about 2 years right now, about how it's so important for them to capitalize with this class with Segu, Mbala, and Jonathan Williams. And right now, if they don't capitalize now, it's hard to see them capitalizing for at least a couple years afterwards. And that's why this year is so important. And I think the thing that's scary about it is you look at those youngsters. I think we all believe they're going to be solid players. Madding looks like a good guy. Blocker has a lot of raw ability, and even Williamson, who we haven't seen this year due to some injuries, looks like he's going to be solid as well. But it's going to be asking a lot for them to come in as sophomores and carry this team next year. So they have to capitalize now, and I think that's why you're seeing Coach Weitzel go so heavy on his seniors. And what they really needed was guys like Bruden to step up. They need Jack to step up, and they need these transfers that they got from other places to play at a high level. But unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out that way. Keyshawn Bruden has been a massive disappointment for this program. We thought UB thought they were going to get an ace 3-point shooter, and it just hasn't been the case. And that really increases the pressure on the big three. I think if they would have had more complementary guys around them the past couple of years, this is a squad that really has the talent to go to the NCAA tournament and even upset a team. But they just don't have the right pieces. Now, this year, they might. I mean, it is early. We're going to see a lot of victories one way or another. There's a lot of gimme games on the schedule. So don't think I'm saying this is a team that won't win 20-plus games. I fully expect that. But you look at a lot of rosters, they might recruit a 3-point shooter, a guy that isn't a great athlete or not a great defender, but a guy that you put on the court, he's going to hit a 3 40% of the time. A lot of other teams, they'll recruit a lockdown defender, not a scorer, but a guy that you put him on the defensive side of the court, like a Dante Carruthers.
Wasn't that supposed to be Ty Perry?
Yeah, that's what Ty Perry is supposed to be, but we'll see. And that's what kind of this UB team is missing. They got 3 of the best athletes in the conference, but they're not surrounded by anything, and they just don't have that team mentality where they just flow. There's no rhythm to their game, and you would think that with coaching and in the recruiting that you'd be able to eventually develop that. It's just, I feel like we've been saying the same thing for the last 3 years, and hopefully that changes, and I think it will. But early signs are a little discouraging. You would have expected at least a little bit better basketball the first 2 games, despite the 1-1 record.
Didn't you know UB recruited the next Ja Morant and Devin Caesar, the only recruit they have right now? Didn't you know that? I've seen literally UB fans say that they got the next Ja Morant.
Here's the thing. I don't think Weitzel's doing a poor job recruiting. If you look at just the stars and the schools that they're getting these transfers from, these are decent.
Then where's the issue?
Players. So when it comes down to this, you're either overvaluing people based on what recruiting outlets are saying, which aren't always correct, or you're doing a bad job coaching up these players once they get to your school. What is it? I mean, either way is a kind of a concerning thing, because I'm not going to start a whole Weitzel debate or anything like that. He's the coach. He's going to be the coach for a while. He's going to get whatever amount of time. They're never going to fire him. This is Reggie 2.0 right now. But he has had a track record of being a D1 coach for almost a decade, and he's never made a tournament, and he's only had a few 21 seasons.
Well, he set the stage for Porter Moser.
Okay.
They were his recruits.
Okay. But at some point, you wonder, I mean, there's a reason why some coaches after 10 years don't go to the NCAA tournament. UB fans wanted to give Reggie an excuse after excuse after excuse. Well, you know what? Reggie just wasn't a good enough coach. And you're seeing it now at Canisius again. Maybe Weitzel doesn't have it. I don't want to see that. It's early. I have faith in this team.
It's getting early late, though.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You got Ryder. You got Stephen F. Austin. You win the next 2-3 games, we're going to be all talking about how this team is going to win 25 games. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think it is a big we'll see. Exactly. I think that's the biggest thing right now, Mike. Because I don't know what Kev is. Coastal Carolina, are they in the Colonial?
Yeah,
There's aren't they
CAA, I think.
They're in the Sun Belt. Yeah,
Sun Belt now. I don't know. Either way, 14.5 points in the Sun Belt, and this guy came and put up double digits. Can't even sniff double digits for UB right now. I don't know
But
what
in
the
JUCO, he was literally the top 10 JUCO
he was a
player.
bucket.
So
He was putting up almost 20 points a game in
he's a
JUCO.
walking bucket. Like, what happened? Like, that's two evidences, and then he was good in his whole career. He's been good until he got here. So
Yeah, it's not like he transferred after just a freshman year at JUCO or something, and it was like a one-year phenom.
one
No,
of the
he
top JUCO players in the country.
stayed in JUCO, had a productive year at Coastal.
Coach B wanted him.
Doesn't that point to then that it's probably a coaching issue? Because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't put your
Unless he
players in the
quit,
right
unless
spots-
he had a weird situation in CCU, like where he like walked off in February and it was weird. Like they let him.
But is it one of the assistants was his JUCO coach?
Yeah, they signed the JUCO coach that got him and Malik Zachary. Another.
I think, and you just hit the wall. Think about the names you're talking about right now: Malik Zachary, Chance Robinson, Savion Gallen. These are guys that they recruited that were supposed to contribute, and just off the court incidents, players not performing to the level expected. That is, you could honestly point to, if this team falls short because of depth, you could point to how many failed experiments have they had in the last 2 to 3 years. That's the reason they don't have depth. Now, coach believes he does have depth this year. Maybe they were protecting the freshmen from North Texas and in Michigan because it's early in the season. Maybe he's waiting to get them some experience in some of these home games coming up against Point Park, St. John Fisher, build up the confidence. But you got to play them eventually. You can't baby them. If they're what you believe they could be, you got to just get them out there eventually. I don't care if it's for 5 minutes a game. Ohio has a 6'8" big man, freshman, AJ Clayton, who's already getting 6-7 minutes a game for the Bobcats. They don't seem to be afraid. They played Belmont and Cleveland State, two teams that are considered good mid-majors.
There's zero excuses in this drive. Maybe in the St. Louis game, I'll give him a little bit of pass. But outside of that, you got Ryder, SFA, PP, St. John Fisher. Like, I'll give you a little pass in the St. Louis game if that game happens, which it should. Outside of that, I want no excuses in this stretch.
At least Madden, because Blocker didn't come in till the very final stretches of the Damon game, which that tells me Weitzel doesn't think Blocker is going to be getting much minutes at all this year, regardless of what happens. But I do think there's a scenario for Madden to get time.
And Curtis Jones, though, too.
Yeah, Curtis Jones played early in the Damon game. He should be getting some minutes on the court. Madden should be getting at least some defensive minutes. He might not contribute much offensively, but he's 6'9". He has a wingspan that's like could touch my ceiling.
Did Brock end up getting a rebound yesterday? It's not like he's giving you anything. What is he giving you?
Yeah,
fouls.
Yeah,
put me in. I'll foul him.
Like, if that's going to be the case, why can't you put in a freshman to get a few fouls? I mean,
right. What are you losing? It's not like my argument is you're taking out on Madding's case. You're taking out Brock Bertram. Like Segu doesn't have a backup. He needs a few minutes off. To me, you're not. What are you losing? Like, what are you losing not playing Bruin at this age? Bruin doesn't have it. Whether that's coaching, whether it's quit.
You need them ready for conference play. So wouldn't the best test be to put them in a tough situation to see how they handle adverse situations?
Why don't you want your freshmen to get minutes? Like you said, this isn't Reggie. This isn't the 90s. Like, you've got freshmen getting drafted into the NBA. Now we're in a different situation. Give them minutes. CJ comes in. Perk comes in off of Oates' classes and play off the bat. Like, they were 2-star recruits. They're getting minutes, so they were ready. Perkins didn't have an off. CJ, no one wanted CJ. He's playing day one under Oates. You're telling me this roster's deep enough that you don't think that you can play Blocker? Either there's an issue there,
or you don't have faith at this point.
You don't.
Some coaches. So you got to look at it. Weitzel is, what is he? 61, 62 years old. A lot of these coaches that play younger players, they tend to be younger coaches as well. I mean, it's
CJ was going to get redshirted, so we can't sit here and say he was some massive recruit. Like. Either you're not recruiting good, back to your original point, either you're not recruiting good and there's an issue on the recruiting side and the players just aren't good, or you're just not putting trust in players when you need to do it.
And even look at what Oates did with Janathan and Rondo. They saw playing time as freshmen. Now, were they impact players as freshmen? No, but they got minutes, and that's part of what has helped them develop into what they are now. Because when they were sophomores, it wasn't new to them. They had experience. I think it all comes down to feel. Different coaches are going to have a different feel for the game. And right now, there's a lot of reasons to think that maybe Weitzel. I trust he has a great basketball mind. I trust he has an eye for talent. What I question is his in-game management and how he runs his team in important situations. They were horrible the last 2 years in the final 5 minutes of close games. Their execution is not good at times. They don't run a half court well.
They almost threw the game away at the end.
Yeah, defensively they're out of position.
You can't tell me how well coached they are, Mike, by that throwaway.
That's
by a senior.
One thing. It's almost like this is
that's not Devin Caesar in there. Yeah. That's not Devin Caesar in there. That's his 5th-year player.
So it's kind of like we're contradicting each other, not each other. UB fans are contradicting themselves when we talk about Jim Weitzel, because we said he was hired over Brian Hodgson because he was the experienced coach. He knows the X's and O's. He's going to keep the team together. Well, from what I've seen in game X's and O's, the team's been out of sync. They don't do things properly. There's a lot of issues. And it's funny because the whole time we were told Weitzel couldn't get the good recruits to come to UB. Well, he's gotten the good recruits by the recruiting services, but they haven't panned out, which was what you would have thought they would have panned out. So something is kind of weird here, because I feel like the diehard UB fans that are critical when people have criticism of the team would tell you, well, this is why Weitzel's great, but all the reasons why Weitzel was supposed to be great haven't really come to fruition. So, like I said, don't want to kill him. Still have a lot of hope for this team, and we're just being critical because there's been reasons to be critical. There's a lot
because we want them to be a top 50 team, Mike. We're not critical because we're accepting of a 200 ranked program.
Well, that's what it comes down to. If you had them as a top 50 to 60 team, like I believe all three of us probably had them. I don't know if you had them there or not, Ty. Then you need to be critical, because top 50 teams are held to a high elite standard. If you look at them as, they're like 90 or 100, well, okay, then I feel
then they're playing that ball. They're playing 100 ball right now.
If you're 90 or 100, you're not going to win the MAC, because I'm telling you, watching the Ohio Bobcats, they look like a top 75 team this year. So they're going to need to play as a top 80 team to win this conference, top 70 team to win this conference. There's too much talent in the MAC to just be like, oh, you're 110, you're 115. This isn't like 2009 Reggie Ball. Nate Oates would never have been content being 105, 110. And I'm not saying that Weitzel is either, but the fans' expectations, they need to be elevated. It's time to stop.
Do we know that he's not, though? Like in the closing statements last year was, well, it's hard to win 20 games, was literally verbatim his comment.
They won 32 with Nate Oates. They won 32 with Nate Oates. It's hard to win 30 games.
You have some of the best athletes in the MAC. It's hard to win 20 games?
You know, I'm just going to look at this just for fun, just to see Nate Oates' record when he was at Buffalo. 20-15 with basically nobody returning in this first year. 17-15, okay, I give him a pass. That was a rebuild year. 27-9, 32-4. Come on. Elite teams win 25 games plus.
25's the new 20. Yeah.
And it's not even like they're playing that hard of a non-conference schedule. The only tough games you really had were Michigan already and
Bonnie's.
Bonnie's and potentially
St. Louis and Western Kentucky potentially.
St. Louis was down by like a dozen the last time I checked in the first half to Memphis, so they're kind of getting blown a little bit there. So we'll see how that goes. But I think help is coming, guys. Don't worry. Dom Johnson is going to be done with football soon. He'll be ready to take the court. 15 career games played. He's ready. The depth's here. It's arriving. It's on its way. It's just going to be on the football field tomorrow night, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that transition?
Yeah, it was good.
If he sees the court before Matting or Blocker, I think Kevin
Ty Perry.
Yeah, if Dom Johnson sees the court before any of those three players, we might.
Well, Fagan saw the court before some of them, so I don't know. I don't know anymore. Hardnett might change some stuff up. Like, he has the potential, guys. But if you look at this, turning to the football side, it's been a rocky year. Actually, just lost ETN. That was challenging. Just lost the quarterback recruit that many thought could be the starter. It wasn't a great 2 weeks in UB football. I'm not just talking about losing to some bad teams. Miami Ohio is a pretty good football team, I guess. I had them actually losing to them preseason. I think I was the only one that thought that they were a 500 team out of this group. And I'm wrong even. Like, it's not a 500 group team. They couldn't get out of their own way against Bowling Green. They can't play defense. It's one of the worst defenses in college football. Like, they have an 11 sack game? Yes, against Akron, one of the worst teams, one of the other worst teams in college football. They did. Did they? I mean, they're offsides away. I mean, Ohio would be right in it. They jumped offside and gave UB like 4 kicks at 20 yards, and they finally made one. But not a good year to start it off. There's questions not only with this year. It'd be like if the basketball team starts to lose like 7 in a row, and we're like, what do you even do? Because there's no future. Like, we just went over all the reasons why we're going to struggle next year as of today. Same thing on the football team. Guys, they don't have a quarterback. They're going to lose some players to the transfer portal. Does McDuffie say he is a Buffalo guy? So maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he sees Jarrett Patterson and is like, hell, I need to get Power 5. Like, I like Osborne. Like, I need to go Power 5 to have a shot at
That's what I was going to say. Think about all those guys who are here. Who is the one that actually made it and has stuck with the team the entire time? Yes, Tyree's, had to change his position and whatever. He's back in the NFL. But KJ Osborne is the only one who went to a team, got drafted, and stuck there. And he's playing productive minutes. He's had,
100-yard games,
20 catches this season at least. It blows my mind over and over again that we have all this talent and they can't seem to get better throughout the season. I know, obviously you're playing through injuries a lot in football, and that's why you have to have depth. And a lot of these guys, especially look on the defensive line, they had injuries on the defensive line. A lot of those guys were forced to play last year due to injuries, and they've all pretty much stepped up on the defensive line. Well, you have pretty much your whole secondary returned, and you even, go out and add a couple of transfers who are supposed to add some more experience to the secondary. And I mean, they get their top blown off more than the girls do at the nude beaches in France. Like, it's unbelievable, and like they can't even make tackles.
They just let up 101 points to my defensive Miami and last ranked Bowling Green. 101. This isn't like they lost 21-20 and a couple flukers. Like, this is they weren't able to play.
Has the team quit?
Yeah,
I mean, that's a fair question. We don't want to accuse them of that, but that does happen in college sports, especially with a team that doesn't think they're going anywhere. And I think it's so.
But coming off that Akron game, tough. Like they had a shot at stuff. Like
the Bowling Green game just hit them hard. The Miami game, I think they realized we have nothing to play for anymore. It's a shame because I do think this team was more talented than what we're seeing record-wise this year. And I don't think what we're seeing the last couple of weeks is what this squad should have been. I still believe going into this season with what they returned, they should have been at least a 7-win team.
Well, they weren't expecting Marks to be a 3.8 yards per carry guy. Like, I'll tell you that right now. Like,
people ask, why did you say 8-4 when you had a new head coach, new system, and you lost all these players? And I said before the season, well, their defense is supposed to be good. I mean, the last 3 years, UB's scoring defense was among the top teams in the MAC, and they returned their entire linebacking core. They returned Taylor Riggins. They had Max Michel. They had a couple people in the secondary.
All don't play for some reason.
Yeah, so, I mean, defensively, I was told all preseason, look out for this defense. They're going to be the strength of the team. I assumed Kyle Van Treese was going to continue to be a game manager and that they would run the ball effectively. It all was set up for at least a 6-7 win team. I think and even the first couple of weeks of the season, it was all working. I mean, yeah, you lost to Nebraska and you had a close one against Old Dominion, but you were 2-2 through non-conference play. That's all we expected going in. Close game against Western Michigan. You had a game against Kent where you played crap for 2 quarters and still had the lead late in the third. I don't, and it's weird too because their scoring actually points per game is near the top of the MAC. It's one of those things where I just think their secondary was just so bad. that they couldn't stop anything. I don't think the defensive line is horrible. I don't think the linebackers are horrible. I don't think either are necessarily great, but the secondary is horrendous. And then running wise, they were effective, but they weren't as effective. McDuffie would get about 5.5, 6 yards per carry, but Jarrett Patterson in the past, he wasn't just getting 6 yards a carry. He was breaking 40, 50-yard touchdowns, and they didn't have any explosiveness. And when every touchdown drive had to be 9, 10 plays, 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes, they just had no ability to really come back in games or just put teams away, and they killed them.
But think about that stretch there in those games in the first quarters there. You find yourself behind so many times and you're supposed to be a running team. That puts so much pressure on you, you can't. And then eventually you're playing catch up and then you are more efficient running the ball because they're pretty much giving it to you. And that's how you he got most of their yards running the ball, to be honest, if you really break things down and look at it. Um, yeah, you're right about there not being a lot of explosive plays, and they just weren't very efficient. They couldn't do anything outside of running the ball. So then when a team could stop running the ball, yeah, good luck. Like, find Keon Williams. If you don't look Keon Williams' way, if he's not the first read, he wasn't getting the ball. There was just a problem with getting the ball into the hands of your playmakers outside of the running backs who you hand it to. Like, try some end arounds, try some quick passes. You never really see them run any slants or, anything like that. It's weird to me. I don't understand what their offense is or what it's supposed to be, and I hope it's not indicative of what their offense is supposed to be, building into the future. I said, I would kind of give them a pass, but the way things have gone and the way they're beginning to regress, I'd be a bit worried going forward because it's not like Kevin said, it's not like you just have like a bunch of 3, 4-star recruits here ready to replenish things. That's not how things work in the MAC. Like, you get 2 and you get maybe a couple 3-star recruits and you got to coach guys up. And are they going to be able to do that? It remains to be seen. We haven't seen it. Mo's never been a head coach, especially at the Division One level. So it's kind of just it's a wait and see. There's nothing nothing we could do. I can't recruit anyone.
Doesn't it feel like coaching, not to be hard on a second straight coach, but doesn't it feel like coaching really hurt them this year? And granted, you give Mo a pass year one based on the situation, but I never felt this year that they were prepared for the games that they went into, got out to slow starts continuously. It just seemed like they were, I don't want to say outmatched, because these are guys that showed that they can play at a decent level in the Mid-American Conference last year. It's almost like they went 6-1 last year. They were dominant running the ball, had a decent defense. That Coach Mo thought he could just come in, keep running the ball, just pound it, pound it, pound it. And when that didn't work, he just got a little bit stubborn with it. He refused to open things up or really change the offense. And I think the lack of adjustments was really honestly kind of concerning, because even though we love Kyle Van Treese, he's a good guy. He's part of one of the most one of the best runs in UB history over the last 4 years. It was clear early in the year he wasn't getting it done. And maybe part of the reason Coach Mo didn't put Myers in was because Myers honestly hasn't looked any better. But at least with Myers in the game, you had a threat of a little bit of an option in spreading teams out, which could actually open some more holes for the running game.
Or Ty.
Yeah.
What's the problem with not playing Baczynski or Casey Case?
They were done
What do
by
you have
31 last week with garbage time, and you got
What
Matt
are you
Hines.
losing? What are
It
you
makes
losing
no
playing him
sense. I was
against
losing
Ball
my
State
mind the
next
other
week?
day. I don't
Against
get
Ball
it.
State next week? What do you lose?
All you're doing is, number one, you're proving to any young quarterback that potentially wants to come into your program, we don't believe in young quarterbacks. Like, we're not just going to put you out there in an opportunity just to see
Because
what
we
you
have
because
Kyle
there's an
Van
opportunity.
Treese.
Yeah, because we're going to reward whoever's been here the longest. Like, you don't want that out there. And that's exactly kind of what they're showing right now. And that's why I think we're seeing these things where guys are starting to look into the portal. We're seeing guys decommit. And that's
What's wrong
the
with
exact
Baczynski?
opposite of what
Like,
you want.
he's already used his red shirt.
were they afraid of losing the locker room if they went with the youngsters because they're coming off a 6-1 top 25 season? Because
I've heard it's the exact opposite.
you only see two things. I mean,
they want the young quarterbacks.
yeah, and to me, there's only two reasons why you don't play the young quarterback. It's if one, you don't think they're good enough, or two, you think sticking with the experience is the safe move. And I do think it's concerning right now that they have quite a few 3-star freshmen and sophomores on this team that really aren't seeing the field. And in this day and age, when they don't see, when you're a school like UB and you're struggling and you're not winning games, and these youngsters still don't see the field, that's when they transfer because they're like,
what are you worried about? I still don't know.
Here, why am I going to stay here? And I already had one person reach out to me say that they're transferring from the university. So I do think it's concerning because I think what my whole mindset this year was, okay, they're going to be good. That fell apart. Okay, we're going to stink this year, but we got some good recruits coming in. It might not be a good season next year, but you build things back up and in your vision, and then you can get the program going again. When you start to see some of these top level guys decommit like ETN and Mekhi Lynn, and then you potentially might lose more guys to the transfer portal, that's not a 1 year, 2 year fix. You're talking about it might take 2 to 3 years to rebuild the farm. And when you're a program like UB that has gone through so much bad history outside of the Lance Leipold years, it is not a good situation when you think maybe next 2 years losing football when you're coming off a 4 or 5 year stretch of a minimum of 6 wins. I'm telling you, they better hit on their recruits this offseason and build things up, because otherwise we could be going back to those Jeff Quinn, Jim Hoffer days. And I do have faith that they'll be able to recruit at a decent level because they'll need to.
They definitely will need to, and they do have some younger coaches, so you hope that resonates and they're able to continue to sell what they are trying to build.
I just need to see Baczynski. I still don't have a good reason. What you're
Is he even the 3? Is he even the 3?
I don't care.
We're hearing a lot about Casey. I mean,
does Case still have a red shirt though? Now he can play, right?
They have Plummer too. He's a 3-star freshman. I mean, they got some 3-star quarterbacks.
I don't care. Don't care.
You're like, put any of them in.
No, seriously, whoever is the 3. Like, I'm not even kidding. Whoever you think is the best of that bunch.
I don't think it's possible that either of them could be worse throwing the ball. I mean, they have to be at least on par throwing the ball. I mean, if they can't throw the ball at the level that Van Treese and Myers,
that's on Shane Montgomery, guys. Like, there is no reason for him not to go to the head coach and say, let's play one of these guys to see what we got. There's no reason to not say that other than he doesn't know my offense. You're a fucking running offense? Like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure I could learn the entire playbook in like a week.
Right.
Like memorized. Like, not just like learn it and like understand the schemes. Like
your stretch zones that you run, like what?
Yeah.
Your RPOs, like what? Don't they know? Like,
they don't ever run RPOs.
I miss the good old days of just complaining about special teams.
You run like 2 options. There's no pass option out of it. Almost.
No, there's no pass option. They're almost running like a zone read. They're running a zone read.
They do a zone read, and every once in a while there's like the little toss over option. That's about it.
Yeah, I miss special teams too, Mike. That's bad too, but we don't care. There's no reason to talk about it.
At least when we were talking special teams, it was because the rest of the team was playing well. So,
yeah, I'd kind of rather be dwelling on that.
My biggest thing to Coach Mo when the recruiting, you got to find a way to bring a passing game back to Buffalo. I don't care that it's windy in November and that we get snow once in a while. It's the year 2021. If you can't pass, you can't win unless you have a dominating offensive line. Lance Leipold built that line over the course of 3 to 5 years.
And they're all gone.
With what they lost, with what they're going to lose, you're not going to rebuild that offensive line quickly. So you need to find someone that can throw the ball and distribute it to a bunch of weapons. Otherwise, it's going to be a long time before they're.
And what do you got? 1 in Kansas, 1 on the Bills practice squad, 1 on the Bengals practice squad. Like, they're gone. It's that offensive line is done. Like, because Archuk is
find a young quarterback. Tell him you are going to take over our team, and we're going to give you the keys. We're going to let you do whatever you want, and we're going to figure it out together.
And it's still good, and it's still a good unit. Like the offensive line, I'm not going to, for all the problems, I can't complain about them or the running backs. I mean, I'm going to complain about the quarterback.
The only way they're getting a quarterback like that, Bunt, that you can trust for that is if you call them right now and you tell them any car off the paddock lot.
Hey, we got NILs. Let's get Western. Let's get somebody
a bidding war for it.
No, let's get Northtown to give somebody a $50,000 endorsement deal. They'll be the Northtown version of Josh Allen for the UB Bulls, and we'll make it work. And
how about this though? I got a better move.
Joe Licata started as a youngster. Seriously, it's not.
I don't have a problem with freshman quarterback playing, but my question is, hit him in the transfer portal and pick out Spencer Rattler. That's going to be the saving grace from Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler.
That happens if Douglas Jamal's like, all right, we're gonna put you up with like the best suite and the Statler. All you have to do is some promotions.
Perfect.
And if you give Spencer Rattler
how much money has Spencer Rattler already gotten as the top high school recruit? Like he's got to have bad.
Spencer Rattler with a $500,000 endorsement deal.
If Spencer,
there's got to be like some UB alum that would be like when he's going to enter the portal, right, guys? Because
can we start a GoFundMe to get Spencer Rattler to UB?
Spencer Rattler comes to UB, I'll get him tattooed on me in a UB.
Like, let's get a $500,000 donor and sign him in NIL or whatever it's called to like do
sponsor business.
That's
whatever's allowed. Whatever's allowed legally.
That's allowed. Anyone who runs a business.
Yeah, is it literally that simple? The rule that easy?
Probably. I think we could do it. I just don't have $500,000.
So can it be a donor that gives you money to do it?
No, it has to. I think it has to be a business or something separate.
Yeah, I don't know if there can be any affiliation with the school. That's what I've been wondering for a while.
It's weird. It's goofy. Like it's silly.
Like, could you sponsor like the program itself? But
you can't tell me there's not a big donor. It's going to happen soon. Where a big donor just like it might not be like going to go to Ohio, NIU or something, and it's like, why is this guy playing in NIU?
5-star quarterback,
right? At some point, it's going to be like Spencer Rattler secures a bag to play 3 years at Buffalo, 2 more years at Buffalo. Yeah.
Instead of like getting like a $5 million donation to your school to build a new field house or upgrade your facility.
Why not get players?
Let's buy a player, and then your school wins, and then
you get the field house.
Winning, you get the field house. God, we just figured it out. UB's going to be a force in 5 years.
That's what mid-major should be doing.
He's the only one that's got the money.
Big schools get the recruits anyways.
We need to talk to Mark Allnut about this.
What a mid-major should be doing is getting players.
Yeah. Let's do this.
Don't buy facilities, buy players.
Why can't you have an endorsement with BMW? Like, why not?
So I'm saying the local West Her or BMW, whoever does the BMWs here, I don't know who does right now.
Dorschel,
for a Beamer,
whatever they are now in Rochester, we have one. So, like, what does it matter? Like, if I was a mid-major, I'd be working away because the big schools are going to be doing it. So, like, put your money away from
like some of the big schools have already negotiated like team deals where they got like a larger brand or whatever, and like all the players are.
That's where it gets gray, though, guys. Right? Like you can't have like the university obviously can't fund money, but can a donor to a business? Can you pay Joe Schmo like Duff's? Like
I don't know, Joe Duff's.
Right.
Hopefully Joe Duff's got the bag. Go out and steal some recruits from Alabama.
Like there's got to be a line somewhere where it's like, I don't know.
Test the line.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to in this university, but there certainly are going to be like, where was that one of the top recruits going to go? Weren't they going to go to like Western Kentucky to play with Bearden? Wasn't it?
I think it might have been.
They did. They got Mitchell Robinson and I think Charles Bassey. They got 2 5-star recruits in like the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And they didn't make the tourney once with those guys.
It happens. Sometimes you
And
fumble the
they were
bag.
almost a MAC school, like literally like days away from being a MAC school.
Kevin, I don't want to go down that road. It makes me sad.
I still think there's a chance to partner them with somebody, though.
I believe it was the athletic director did say something interesting about that, though. He said basically the MAC didn't end up taking Western because they wanted Middle Tennessee State. But the problem was they went to the network seeing if they were going to get a bigger TV contract.
They said no.
With those two schools. Network said no. So basically, they would have to divide the same amount of money up among two more.
And that's
schools.
a smart. Honestly, as a commissioner, that's a smart move.
So
why would you?
Western Kentucky said that they still wanted to join the MAC, even when Middle Tennessee State said no. And they were asked, "Would you still be open to the MAC in the future?" And and what the AD said is, well, if we were thinking about our future now and we said yes, I don't know why a few years from now we suddenly wouldn't say yes. He basically said, if we're thinking about our future and we're already saying yes, nothing's going to change in the next 2 years. Basically telling Conference USA, we're leaving the first time a conference lets us leave. We don't want to be with you guys. We think you're.
I think there's a move though. If the MAC does go and get more money, that there'll be things in motion. If they can get more out of Maction's great for people love Maction though.
Yeah, and I do want to throw this out. Some basketball. Yeah, we're talking soccer. That's all right. But I do want to say this: some college basketball realignment news. Loyola to the A10 from the Missouri Valley. That's crazy news right there. Especially for the A10, which lost schools like Temple, Xavier, Butler in the last decade. Also, Belmont is going to Missouri Valley. Murray State might be following them, as they're also trying to negotiate UT Arlington and Kansas City. So don't know what Missouri Valley Conference is doing, but our buddies in Olean are going to have some more competition in the A10 going forward.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, it makes sense. Loyola has been taking a huge step up. Thinking about the MAC, though, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you package it and like you go out and add maybe 4 schools total with Western Kentucky. Maybe you get someone like Illinois State, some other random mid-major schools. I don't know. And
Indiana State. If you got Indiana State, Western Kentucky, like I think that would be good. Like Indiana State football, maybe not, but basketball-wise, the Missouri Valley.
You can find them. Yeah, you could find somebody out of one of those conferences.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like out of the MVC. Yeah, like for sure. Like you could find somebody somewhere that will take MAC money.
Absolutely.
Oh, here you go, Mike.
Oh my God.
What do you got for that? Mike is a big Ohio fan, so that works. Like maybe Ohio State. Maybe Ohio State will come to the MAC, right?
I think I've been to all those MAC schools in Ohio. I've been to Toledo, Bowling Green.
What about Cleveland State? What about Cleveland State?
Yeah, I was just at Cleveland State. Yeah, so yeah, I've been at Miami. So yeah, I've been to all of them. Unbelievable.
Cleveland State. Like, what a perfect. Why not? They've been good in basketball. Like, why?
I don't know about Cleveland State. I don't think they have the fan support, and I don't think they're consistently good enough.
They'd be home for the tournament. They'd have a home game.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know. I don't think Cleveland State would be the way to go. I think,
but it's like right in the territory that would work.
Yeah. I mean, they're a good program, but they don't have football. So I feel like
that's the thing is, I don't think you need them for all sports because the MAC doesn't.
No, but guess what? You don't have to break up the football money then.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to break up the football money, which is the big thing. You can add potentially some baseball.
2 basketball schools, yeah, baseball,
wrestling. I don't know.
I mean, lot to like there, but I mean, conference talk. I guess we could go on all day. We need some exact rumors at some point. I think they will add to the conference. Once again, being a UB focused show, all we can do is focus on what we know here in this city, and it's a big ESPN2 game with not a lot on the line, and that's unfortunate. Like we wanted at least a little something. -1, guys, -1. Like for NIU, that is just not. That is a weird line. Like
doesn't make sense.
No, that does not make any sense. All right, Ty, we'll go, Ty. go around the corner to give us some picks.
Yeah. NIU gets this one done. It's gonna be rainy. It's gonna be windy. It's gonna get bad there. We know how it is in Amherst, the way the wind comes in through that stadium in the corner and blows
Yep.
across the field diagonally, which makes things hard to kick, throw, everything. So that's not gonna be fun for them. I think it's gonna be a running game, which is gonna slow things down a little bit. And with that line being so fishy, Kevin, I think the Bulls cover, but Northern Illinois wins. I got Northern Illinois 28-27.
And yes, Ty has the best hair. I don't think
Yeah.
either of us can compete with that for sure. That's not a competition in that category for sure there. But yeah, I got a similar score. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball at all in the air. Unfortunately, the DBs, as I've been told, the rain can heavily affect the receiving core in terms of they know where they're going. The defense doesn't. Outside of heavy snow, it always affects the offensive team is actually in command. 31-17. NIU, I just think that the team, they have a lot to play for. UB doesn't. We saw them not get up. If they got up last week, I would have more motivation. They didn't get up for a game that they needed. So 31-17 and I'm interested to see, and I'm keeping my streak alive, man. Bowling Green ruined my streak. I was hoping to be 12-0 this season. Still feeling good about 11-1, but Mike,
God, this is torture because I'm one game behind you, so I really need to pick UB if I want to. God, these comments, they're unbelievable. Kev, you can lift like 250, right? But I should pick UB if I want to win or at least get tied with you, but I got to go Northern Illinois. I have them 34-27. I think the over-under is 60.5 points, so I have them just.
You can always take them over. I'll take them Ball State, so you can always take UB next week just for fun.
I think that's the way I'm going to end up going. I think I'm going to go Ball State, UB next week just to try to even things up. But NIU is just a slightly better team. I don't think they're as good as their record shows. Their defense is actually pretty crappy, and you'll get that in my preview tomorrow. Their defense allows over 200 rushing yards a game, which should play into UB's hands a little bit. But they've just been such an effective offense. They can run the ball well. They have some good wide receivers and Rudolph, and I think they get just enough done to ruin UB's senior night.
Tough to see. Tough to hear out of you, Mike Bunn. I'm surprised you're not doing that. Absolutely tough. Usually I look for the team that has the nicest pants for the nicest buck, obviously. That's exactly what it is in football. But that'll wrap it up for us here in Bullet Points. Make sure you guys tune in next time on YouTube so you can get your comments heard. So make sure you guys like and subscribe over there. Follow us over on Twitter at bulletpoint716 for more. And go get all of our content over at trainwrecksports.com. Tons of stuff. UB, St. Bonaventure, and more. NFL, everything. So make sure you guys go do all that. Shout out to Kevin Masari, Mike Bunt for joining me. I'm Ty B. We only got 3 words left.